Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Shark Gaming. My name is Shark, and this is Diablo 3 Demon Hunter Season 3. Now, I literally just created this video to find out that Fraps didn't record anything I had said, so I actually have to record this for a second time. Which is fine, I'm more than happy to do so, but my mouth is just so dry now. So much talking. So, basically, this video is going to be another basic update video, similar to the previous video, and mainly because of exactly what I said in the video prior to this one of this same character, was that I fully expected that for the build to change over time, and it started changing that very same night that I uploaded that video. So there's a lot to talk about now when it comes to this character, but after this I don't believe that the character is going to change too much, so we'll start looking into possibly after the brief update going into and running a greater rift to see how far I can get, so that we can record the progress of my personal best in the greater rifts, which currently is 25, just so everyone knows. But I haven't been pushing too hard as I've been farming mostly and leveling up the gems. So let's take a look at what we have. So as you can see, I have the 6th set piece of the new Demon Hunter set, the Unhallowed Essence. With the 2-piece set, your generators also generate 1 discipline. The 4-piece set bonus, gain 20% damage reduction and deal 20% increased damage for 4 seconds if no enemies are within 10 yards. And as you can see down here, no enemies are within 10 yards of me. So this is just a constant effect, and it ticks down once a target gets close enough to you. It'll tick down, and you can see that, but it'll refresh as soon as there are no targets within 10 yards of you. For now, I currently have 81 discipline, because I have 12 discipline on my chest, 12 discipline on my offhand, 12 discipline on my weapon, and I believe currently that is it. However, I also believe that I can get 12 discipline on my helmet, so I am looking for a new helmet, especially because this one has increased chakram damage when I'm not using chakram, nor am I planning on using chakram. So I need this to be re-rolled, so for either multi-shot or elemental arrow, which we'll go over the build here in just a moment. In my helmet, you can see I'm using a perfect diamond, which is reducing my cooldowns by an additional 25% for a total of 27.34%. It was much higher than that. However, I'm no longer using a cooldown heavy build, so it's not that big of a deal anymore. And we have 30% critical strike chance with 287% critical strike damage, which is pretty close to the 1 to 10 ratio that you want for crit hit for crit damage. I think attack speed is 25%, not too bad. Could definitely be a lot better. Now beyond that, what we have here is the Vigilance belt, which is one of the items I'm looking to replace. However, the belt I'm looking for, I believe it's the Witching Hour, which has a critical strike damage bonus to it and a considerable amount of attack speed, if I remember correctly. And it's the best, I believe it's the best in slot for the Demon Hunter, and incredibly rare, so I don't have one yet, but I am looking for one, so you'll be informed on when I get that as well. The bracers I'm looking for is actually the standard Demon Hunter bracers, the Reaper bracers, which have to be created through your blacksmith. So I don't have them because I have not found the pattern for that yet. So out of so far, this character's had 28 total hours of playtime. About 2 to 3 of those it was leveling up to 70, so roughly 25 hours of farm time. Really is not a lot at all, so those bracers will come in due time. This is my current gem, or current neck piece that I'm using. It's not the best neck piece. I'm using it for I needed the survivability at the time that I got this, so I really liked the vitality on this and the critical strike damage. However, I ended up re-rolling the critical strike chance into the slot so that I can put the Ice Blink gem in there, which is important for my build. So the gem causes your cold skills to apply the chill effect, and your chill effects now slow the enemy's movement by an additional 5.4%, which is, like I said, that's important for my overall setup. Now I am looking to replace this, most likely, what is it, the Juliet's cameo, I believe is what it's called, where it makes you immune to arcane damage. And the main reason for that is because I absolutely hate arcane turret. It's my least favorite effect that a pack can have, as well as prisoner, is it prisoner or jailer? The jailer prison is arcane damage, and in higher greater rifts that will insta kill you, and there's literally nothing you can do about it unless you have the cameo amulet to just completely nullify the damage and heal you at the same time. So that's what I'm looking for. I don't believe that one's particularly rare. On my other characters, I've had several of them. I just haven't found it yet. And I will not be getting vitality when I find that. I'll be looking for critical hit chance, critical hit damage, a slot, and possibly percent damage after that. If I have to reroll the dexterity to do that, we'll see how it comes when I get my new amulet. Then my two rings right now are doing not a lot for me. I have the Royal Grandeur, which allowed me to mix and max my sets for a while. It helped me get up to T6 faster. However, it's no longer doing me any good. But I did not want to go through the process of wasting materials to get another ring that does more damage and applies more damage to my abilities, but then I have to waste materials to get the socket for it. So for now, I'm perfectly fine just running with this so that I can have the Bane of the Trap gem in there, which is currently at rank 5. Not too high yet, but whenever something is whenever something is under the effect of a control, such as a slow, which is what my Ice Blink gem is for, the damage will be increased to 16.5%, and remember that is at rank 5, so that will go up. So these two will literally work together to buff my damage. And then on this side I have the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, which I absolutely love this ring. Do not get me wrong, this ring is fantastic. If you don't know what it does, it reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second whenever you hit with a resource spinning attack. And if you can spam your attacks with like strafe, cooldowns are absolutely nothing. With the multi-shot build, your cooldowns, they're just pretty much non-existent. It's a fantastic ring. I really like this ring. However, if I want to get the most out of my build, I need the focus and the restraint 2-set bonus, where whenever you cast your generator, you get 50% increased bonus damage for, I think it's 4 maybe 5 seconds, and then when you cast your spinders, you get another 50%, and you alternate between those, so you maintain 100% extra damage. That's what I'm looking for as for my rings goes. And then you can see here I have the Zaystone of Vengeance, which is a pretty standard Demon Hunter gem, where depending on the distance that they are from you, the more damage they are going to take, up to 50 yards. At rank 17, they are getting 24.25%, almost 25% increased damage just for being 50 yards away from me. And then at rank 25, anything that I hit will be stunned for 1 second. So this is going to provide me some extra utility for some survivability. Now, last but not least, what is actually the most important part of my set here, excuse me for a moment there, my weapon and offhand. So my weapon, I'm using the critter shot. So if you're not familiar with what the critter shot does, it makes elemental arrow into a generator. So instead of spending 10 hatred, it generates 3 hatred. So it doesn't cost anything. So if you watch over here as I use it, it does not cost any hatred anymore. And instead, it generates my hatred. Now, if we go back to the set that I'm wearing, the 6th set bonus is your generators, elemental arrows, now a generator, and multi-shot deal 15% increased damage for every point of discipline you have. I currently have 81 discipline because of 12 discipline here, 12 discipline on this, 12 discipline on my chest piece, and 12 discipline because, or 15 discipline because of invigoration rune for preparation, and I believe I can get an additional 12% on my helmet. So I'll be looking for a new accursed visage as I go as well. Now, I will show you here in a minute, but this increases the damage output of my elemental arrow and multi-shot. Multi-shot I've seen up to 100,000 crits. Elemental arrow, 100 million crits from multi-shot, and I believe 200,000 crits from elemental arrow. I can't remember. Number dyslexia makes it very difficult, and I don't pay attention to the numbers too much, but we will go and test that out and take a look. So with the perfect green gem, what are these? These are emeralds, perfect emeralds, 130% extra critical strike damage. And then my offhand, and this is where I have deviated a little bit from the main builds that you can see on the Reddit for the demon hunters, is I'm looking instead of using the elemental arrow for the ball lightning offhand, which I don't have because I absolutely hate it. And what it does is it increases, it depends on how you want to read it. Basically what it does, it'll make elemental arrow travel 30 to 40% slower, and the more air time, the longer this travels, the more times, the more chance it has to actually reach out and deal damage to a target. You can actually, if you're in a corridor, you can actually line the corridor with these balls, and the balls are moving so slow they're actually going to be touching each other. As you can see here, my attack speed is pretty quick, so I can pump out quite a few in a short period of time. With the elemental arrow offhand, it increases your attack speed, I believe, by either 20 or 30%. So it'll be attacking nearly twice as fast as this, and the balls will be moving nearly half this speed visually to get far more out of it, which technically will increase your overall DPS. And then with your multi-shot, I'm using the cold burst fire multi-shot, which is going to proc my ice blink for the chill effect, which will cause them to be slowed, which then procs my Bane of the Trapped and my Demon Hunter passives. So they become very slow. They become slow, and they have to walk through my line of elemental arrows, and that's basically how the build is going to play, based off how that build. That's basically how that build plays out. Now, I don't like that item, so instead I'm playing it more closer to the multi-shot build, which uses the Dead Man's Legacy. And as you can see, multi-shots hit enemies below, and mine is nearly a perfect roll on this passive. 59%, it goes up to 60%. As you can see here, 50 to 60%, I got 59%. So basically at 60% health, multi-shot starts hitting twice, which is essentially 100% more damage for multi-shot once they're under 60%. Now, let's move over to the build so we can see how that ties into the set. So, we've already talked about Elemental Arrow, how it's now generating 3 hatred instead of spending 10 hatred, and then multi-shot is now cold, which is proccing Ice Blink, which will cause a chill effect, which now slows them, which is important because that's going to proc Cold of the Weak. Cold of the Weak, if the targets are chilled or slowed, will take 20% more damage, which stacks with the Bane of the Trapped as well. On top of that, we have our Tumble, which is our movement ability. Vault plus Tumble, so every time I vault, the second vault after that within 6 seconds will be at 50% cost. So instead of 4 discipline, it'll be 8 discipline. And watch down here, you'll see a little buff. There you go, so 6 seconds to do it again. That one costs 4 instead of 8, so I use hardly any discipline at all. And then on top of that, my Elemental Arrow now generates a discipline, so whenever I cast Elemental Arrow, it's going to regenerate discipline as well. And the more discipline you have, the more damage output you're actually doing. Next is my Wolf Companion. This is another pretty standard Demon Hunter skill to use because its active ability will increase the damage of you and everyone in your group by 30% for 10 seconds. So this plus proccing all of these other passives plus the gems is how I will sometimes see the 100 million crits off a multi-shot. Next is Marked for Death. Now this one's new for me. I have not been using if you go back to look at the previous video for this character, I was not using Marked for Death. I was using Vengeance, which worked better for the build I was using. This also works really strongly with Strafe because it'll help you keep Strafe going with the Seething Rune, which generates 10 hatred per second. I've also tried side cannons from the Shadows, tried every one of these, and I just really don't. Without a lot of cooldown and without the Obsidian Ring, 90-second cooldown is just too long. So I noticed that other people are using Marked for Death instead, which has no cooldown. Yeah, no cooldown. And your marked target will take 20% additional damage for the next 30 seconds. And then, for long boss fights, people are using Mortal Enemy so that all your attacks generate 4 hatred, which means your elemental attacks will generate 7 instead of 3. And I'm not entirely sure. If someone can put this down in the comment if you know, but this may proc every time they take damage from one of your sources in general. That means every time Elemental's Arrow reaches out and shocks whatever you target with Marked for Death, that's not including the main damage of the ball, but like the tendrils that go out to electrocute enemies along the path of the main lightning ball. Those might proc Mortal Enemy as well, which will drastically improve your hatred regeneration. Then on top of that, when the target is below 60 health, multi-shot will hit twice, so multi-shot's going to be generating 8 hatred, if I'm correct in my understanding of how this particular rune would work. So this has no cooldown, increases your damage output by another 20%, lasts for 30 seconds, and should be just as good for hatred regeneration as the Seething Rune for Vengeance. So even though Vengeance looks way cooler in general, 90-second cooldown is just not worth it, and I believe that's why people are using the Marked for Death instead. And then of course, last but not least, we have Preparation. I don't use this one very often because it's not very necessary, but it instantly restores 30 discipline And if I'm in a bind and I need to tumble away and I don't have any discipline, I can pop that to refill my discipline real quick. But more importantly, it permanently increases maximum discipline by another 15, which is how I'm up to 81. So, like I said, this is fairly standard with the exception of my choices of Elemental Arrow and Multi-Shot up here. My passives, again, fairly standard. It's really hard to deviate. The main thing that I see differently is people are using either Ambush or Single Out. Single Out, gain 25 critical hit chance against a target who's by themselves. Basically, if there's 20 yards away from any other creature, 25% critical hit. That's mostly for bosses. Greatly increase your chance to critical strike. Which will greatly increase your overall DPS against a boss, which is great. However, I prefer Ambush for 2 reasons. Now, I may switch it out to Single Out later on when I have that more perfectly rolled gear. But for now, Ambush, which causes you to deal 40% more damage if they're above 75% health. So, 40% additional damage to above 75% health. Knocks them down, huge crits, knocks them down to below 60%. Now Multi-Shot is hitting for twice the damage that it was before. So they kind of synergize with each other as well. So that's why I like Ambush, because it'll allow you, basically allows you to clear packs faster than Single Out will. Single Out will allow you to clear a boss faster. So it's really, I believe that's really more of a preference. I know some people are also using Ballistic for the multi-strike. I'm sorry, not multi-strike, but the multi-shot arsenal build, so that your rockets still they'll do more damage. Again, I believe this one is preference. So what your preference on basically these 3 right here is what you're looking at. I prefer Ambush. Next, we have Awareness. Straight up survivability every 60 seconds. Instead of dying, you don't die. Plain and simple. And then if there's no enemies within 10 yards, you get steady aim for 20% additional damage, which stacks with the 4-set bonus of the Unholy Essence for 20% reduced damage taken and 20% increased damage taken if no enemies are in 10 yards of you, as you can see right here. And then Call of the Week, which combines with your Multi-Shot, Ice Blink Air, and your Bane of the Trapped. So whenever you fire Multi-Shot, you cause them to be chilled, which causes them to take an additional, right now with the rank 5 Bane of the Trap, it'll cause them to take an additional 36.5% damage just because I hit them with Multi-Shot. So that is the build. That's how it's working right now. So let's go and test it out real quick. Kill Zoltan Zul. Let's see. Let's get over here real quick, see if we can do this real fast. I'm a little laggy for some reason, not real sure why. Let's see. Go ahead. Just fire some of these out. There you go. And like I said, this is mostly basing this off of the multi-shot build. So this is tier 6. This is T6 right now that I'm in, so I am able to solo that with the gear that I have, so it's not too bad. These guys have a lot of health here. So get away from that. And basically that's how you go. And those guys belong to somebody. There was a boss somewhere around here, I'm pretty sure. Because those guys were... There we are. Alright, so we're going to mark you for death. Go away, please. Alright, go away, please. Thank you. You're marked for death.
Not enough hatred.
And let's just get that going here. So, now... at the moment, I don't know how I feel about using Critter Shot with Elemental Arrow. So, I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I do prefer the multi-shot build.
My hatred is too
And that's basically it. That's how easy that is. So I like the multi-shot build. However, I'm trying out different builds. So next video you may see that I have went and built a new crossbow, and I may be using a well, I wouldn't be using. I'd be using the Dead Man's Legacy still, but I may switch it up just a little bit. If I do, I will most likely go to it for entangling shot with the chain gain, so I can slow up to 4 targets, and that way I can take out the socket from this, or not take the socket out, but rather replace this amulet with one that I have in the bank that does not have a socket, but it has 100% increased critical strike damage and 10% additional crit. So the damage output for that particular amulet is far greater than this amulet. So there we go. So this is basically all you do. You use the multi-arrow. Yep, use the multi-arrow to apply the chill effect. It deals large amounts of damage, and it will also be your hatred dump. And then elemental arrow allows you to rebuild it. However, I just don't really, not a fan of elemental arrow. I've never really been a fan of elemental arrow, especially, oh goodness.
I need healing.
There you go. The main reason why I've never been a fan of it is because it's so slow. Oh, you're a boss. I didn't even know.
I need more hatred to do that.
There we go. So that's basically it. So next video we'll be trying this out in a greater rift. I don't expect to have too much different gear. Basically, I believe I'm going to keep this setup for a while, test it out in greater rifts, etc., etc., see how I like it. Next video we will go ahead and run a greater rift, see if I can beat my current best, which is 25 with this build, and see how I like it. If I'm not too keen on it, I'll replace critter shot with most likely crossbow that I can create. That's a hand crossbow. I don't have it. Okay, so there's a crossbow that you can create that's a legendary. It's pretty much the best in slot crossbow, because crossbows are crossbows and there's really not one that's better than all the rest. There are some great hand crossbows, but they're incredibly rare. So I will be taking a look at that eventually, see which builds I like the most, but I can say I will definitely be using Dead Man's Legacy for the multi-shot, no matter what or how I play the build. So we'll see how that comes out in the future. So that is pretty much it. That's all I have for you today. If you like this video or you have some suggestions on the build or questions, feel free to leave some comments down at the bottom. Like I said, you can find most of this information. There's a great guide on Demon Hunters over at the Reddit that has pretty much all this information that I've basically just told you about. If you need a quick reference, go there and read that guide. Also, we'll see what we do next video. I'm going to start looking at putting up a Demon 3 video every Tuesday for my 1 week. That gives me some time on Monday or on Tuesday to actually record the video and then put it up. But we'll see. That may change, but for now, every Tuesday is what I'm looking at to put this video up. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me today. If you liked the video, you want to see more, subscribe, thumbs up, leave some comments, help me grow the channel. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you have a good rest of your day.